one thing that came to me was just like, never be afraid to reinvent yourself.
Mm.
It doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or not. I think that's just it. Because if you know that something feels off and something that isn't feeling good, then and you shouldn't put up with it, because it will turn into disease. It'll turn into the things you don't want in life. So it's like, pay attention to those things that don't bring you joy, because it's the things that don't bring you joy that you're probably fighting against, that you're bringing that into your life personally.
Hey, I'm Joe Fier, and welcome to the Hustle and Flow Chart podcast. This is where we talk all about building businesses so they give you the freedom and fuel for your life. I'm not here to help you build a billion-dollar business, but I am here to help you create a business with systems that work for you so you can make more money than you need just by working part-time. I was a chronic hustle mode kind of guy, and I want to share my experiences and mentors I've met along the way to help you reframe things to be the most effective as an entrepreneur. I wish I had this guidance and insight when I was younger, so that's what I'm doing here for you. Please share and enjoy. Hey, today's episode is with a really good buddy of mine, and we've worked together on a lot of projects in the past too, and I've been around for a lot of this story you're about to hear from my buddy Amish, Shah, and he is also putting together a full-length feature film around all this stuff he's about to chat about. And basically the topic is Ayurveda. If you don't know about it, you're going to learn about it. It's the power of ancient wisdom and technology and all these different things. This is what Amish is all about. I mean, it's like this, it's interesting, unique combo of a man and experiences, and he's freaking fun. He's a great guy, and he's going to drop some knowledge. He's also going to tell you a big turning point in his life as a hustling entrepreneur, one with a bunch of success, seemingly success, physical success, and how that changed in an instant form. And you're going to learn about that and how a lot of entrepreneurs honestly are faced with many similar situations in a lot of varying degrees. So listen to his story, Amish's story, about how he experienced it, but also think of how this might be showing up in your life in some way, because this is something a lot of entrepreneurs I feel like are just push forward without slowing down. And there's a lot of power in that. So Amish shares really openly what happened, and also a lot of practical and very specific things you can do to keep scaling yourself and your business, but in a different way and with a whole bunch of different fuel and passion than you had before. So let's get into it with my buddy Amish Shah. Amish, we're going.
Yo.
We're doing this. It's round 2 on the podcast, but dude, you and I go back. We go way back. I don't even know how many years. It's like 10 something.
App code, baby.
Yeah, shoot. I can't even name like what the thing was. There were so many things.
There were a lot of things actually. You're right, yeah.
But dude, and I remember before we met, and I've told you in the past, I remember watching you and the whole, internet marketing days, doing launch videos with Frank Kern, and the wild west, it felt like, of like what, early 2000, I don't know, something like that. But it was like the heyday of the IM, I feel like. And
when it was just kind of starting to take off, right? Yeah. It was still when, like, if you did internet marketing or you made money from the internet, you were like, were you a scammer? It was still kind of in those days, right? Yeah.
Hey, setting the roadmap, man, for better or for worse in some places. But dude, you made an impact with a lot of people back then. I remember seeing you on some stages and stuff. And I think it was a mastermind, David Klein or DK, he was holding in Del Mar, California.
Yeah, that's how we met. Yeah,
that's right. And it was, I don't know, like since then, I feel like we all just kind of jammed. We kind of like melded our minds in a lot of ways throughout the years working together. And I learned a ton, man, from you, what this crazy.
Same, likewise.
Thank you.
We worked on a lot of different projects. And of course, like, you learn from kind of everything around you, no matter what it is. From friends, you work together, you do things, like, you just learn from one another always, right? So
hopefully we're aware and open to it, eyes open.
Yeah.
And you're right.
Yeah, maybe not so much. Like, I feel like as you get older, you get more and more. When you're younger, you're like, whatever, that person.
I know this. Yeah. And dude, I mean, like, the thing that has left an impact for this long, and like, this is why I wanted to chat about this with you. And it's finally coming to a T for you too, because ever since I met you, like, actually I met you right after this whole big shift or this aha moment in your life. I didn't know at the time. I don't think most people did. But now I feel like it's really like coming to a T where you're like, like your mission has been developed around this moment and then what you learned, and you're bringing this to the world now in this cool featured film coming out in
Mm-hmm.
August. And dude, it's wild because you've done the crazy hustle mode and the startups, the hacking days when you're super young. You have like a wild story, dude, and I don't even know if we
I
have the time
do.
to get into it, but
No, too long. That's the book that's gonna
right.
maybe be another movie. We'll see.
Hey,
Yeah.
cool. So I guess like bring us up because like I want this episode to be one for us entrepreneurs who, maybe we feel like we're hustling and flowing right now, but it's
Sure.
like
Yeah.
you aware, but maybe we're not. Maybe we're burning out and feeling it and wondering what's going on. Like what do I do?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
tee us up, man. Tee us up with
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Yeah, so the story goes like ever since I was younger, you can kind of imagine it's a little hard being like an immigrant son. I'm Indian, but I was born in New Jersey and raised in New Jersey. But then my parents were like only moved here in 1977 or something like that, right? So 1976 or something like that. So you can only imagine me growing up like I'm kind of like stuck between these two lives. But like the American dream was so real. It's like I could just make all this money, and that was really what it was for me. It was like, man, like this is great. I'm gonna, we didn't grow up having much, just like normal lower middle income kind of house, and then we got by. There's a lot of families kind of like that. And for me, it was just like I'm not gonna be like this. Like I'm gonna when I grow up, I'm
it's
gonna
gonna be
make
different.
I'm gonna make a lot of money. See this Ferrari I'm playing with? This is gonna be my Ferrari.
Yeah.
So like that's the American dream. That's what we were born and raised to see, and it was surrounded by us growing up, all the media that we take in and, the movies and everything. That's what our whole reality is based on, right? It's just what we see and what we hear. And so growing up with that, I did the normal kind of diet of Doritos and Coca-Cola and spaghetti and hot dogs and kind of what probably every other kid that grew up in the 80s probably ate. Lucky Charms and
Yeah, man.
you
Mac
name
and
it, yeah.
cheese, all that fun
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly. But we also had Indian food too growing up. In fact, we ate every dinner. A lot of the dinners were Indian. Growing up, my mom just kept with that Indian food, so that was something that was like, oh, we got to eat this. But now thinking in hindsight, that was actually really healthy compared to
Oh
what I
yeah.
was eating. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah. And so yeah, it was just interesting growing up. But I always had like these symptoms growing up. They were like, I was like, I always have like bloody noses and like I would get headaches as a kid and like stomach pains and diarrhea and like just weird stuff I couldn't explain. And the doctor would always just be like, we don't know. Yeah, he probably just has a stomach ache or a bug. He'll be fine, right? As I got older, like that pain like started getting like worse actually. And eventually I got like vitiligo like in my like late teens, early 20s. And I was like, man, what is this? And I was like, this. It was just a weird thing. And I was like, where's this coming from? And then, in college, not that, your habits get any better, I should say.
Right.
They probably got worse. So like, alcohol and just, staying up late, eating pizza, the college life kind of thing. And then in my mid 20s, kind of found success online. I quit my job and it was like a rocket ship. I was like, oh, just made like $1 million like when I was like 25 years old. And I was like, oh my God, like on the internet. And this is in 2005.
Yeah.
2004 or 5-ish was around that time. So, making $1 million and that early on the internet and just being 24 and 25 years old, that's how old I was. It was like, oh my God, it was like a rocket ship. I could do whatever I want now, right? So I did. And I partied and I led a very crazy lifestyle. I grew up on the East Coast and New Jersey and kind of New York, worked in New York at the time. So I was in both of those areas a lot and moved to San Diego in like 2008 just because I had a dream of living in a very posh kind of area, Southern California. And I remember seeing a Maserati the last time I came to San Diego, which was just on a short trip through a work thing, actually. I was like, oh my God, in La Jolla, I saw the Maserati. I was like, one day I'm going to have that. And guess what? I did. And in 2008, like I said, I moved to La Jolla and I ended up with a Maserati. And I was in La Jolla with the Maserati, exactly what I had kind of
Like,
put out
check.
into I was like, done. And so that, I think that led to also very like explosive behavior. I was getting older and I was staying up late and I was partying. And again, it just continued the eating whatever I wanted to, drinking whatever I wanted to, just party a lot and just not really looking at what's going on inside. And, no time for exercise. I got to work and stressed out and business is like starting to fall apart. And I'm like, everything, like my health, my stomach started hurting so much. I was getting more migraines and, before I just put it away, but now it just got to the point where I was like, man, I can't like think. And I was in pain and, and I just didn't know like what's actually going on with me. And so it was around that time I started going to see doctors actually. And I was just like, well, what's up? And they're like, your cholesterol is 370 and you got fatty liver and you're pre-diabetic. And I'm like, I'm 29 years old. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, and they're like, yeah, Shah, like you got to make a radical shift in your life. So I did. I started to kind of experiment with, not drinking so much and not eating crazy foods. But, these are addictive patterns that develop over time, and you don't realize where you are when you get there.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, I'll just have one drink today instead of like three. I'll just have like big plate of whatever and get dessert and have the drinks, and like, and it's just like a life that, when you have a lot of money and you don't really care too much and you just enjoy. My wife and I at the time weren't married either, so we're just kind of engaged, I think, or yeah, probably engaged around that time. And so we're just living the life, and so
Pre-kids, no kids running around.
pre-kids, exactly. It was just like, yeah, let's go party and travel and have fun. Boom. And then all of a sudden it was like boom to me. It was like, what's up? Wake up, motherfucker. And so it was like a wake up call for me. I was just like, holy crap. And my dad had a heart attack and has all these issues and stuff. I was like, man, like, no, I can't go through that. Like, I'm too young, right? It can't happen to me as a 29-year-old. Like, so anyway, it just got worse and the pains got worse. And I started going to see other doctors and MRIs and CAT scans and all kinds of prescription drugs prescribed to me. I was like depressed. And I remember at this huge house I had in La Jolla in like around 2010. And you know this story. This is the craziest story because I just remember this is like the moment where everything like shifted, right?
Hey, I want to pause this episode really fast and give you a gift. This is from Amish and it's brand new, and it's something, if you're connecting with what he's saying already, and there's a lot more to come in this episode, I urge you to pause right now and get this free gift. It's an ebook plus the very first limited edition opportunity to watch his brand new film, The Natural Law. I already got to see it. It's incredible. The cast and the experts and people that he brings into this, a lot of them, you probably recognize some of their names, and it's very eye-opening and it connects to all of us. So pause this really fast and go to hustleandflowchart.com/natural law. Yes, there's 2 L's in that URL at the end there. So go to hustleandflowchart.com/natural law. And what you're going to get is this free ebook that he just put out. It's called Escaping the Fast Lane. And this is going to outline a lot of ways that modern life, the society we live in, the way that our health care is set up, the way that just our mental states kind of are right now in society, the disconnection that we have with a lot of things, nutrition, wellness in general. If you feel like any of this is a little disconnected in your life, I urge you to get this free book because it's going to open up your mind to a lot of things that you might not have been aware of and ways to adjust things that you're doing in your daily life. Amish has helped me personally in this regard in a lot of ways. And so I want to offer this to you, and this is exactly why I brought him on this podcast. So go to hustleandflowchart.com/natural law. And remember, you're also getting an access, a viewing pass for his upcoming film. It's going to be released in the coming weeks, but you will have the first opportunity to watch it. I've already seen it live at the premiere here in San Diego. It was incredible. It's eye-opening, and it's something that all of us should be watching and seeing how to integrate this into our life. So go to hustleandflowchart.com/natural law.
I was there in this house in La Jolla, probably around 6,000 square feet. Had a pool on the roof, had a theater, had an elevator. It was 3 levels. It was 3 levels. It was just like
you had like the best view too of La Jolla, right? Like
and the whole ocean. Yeah. You could see the ocean while you're in the pool on the roof, actually.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, so it was like insane. It was at that house. I was in the shower, and the shower was probably like, I see this room here, like maybe half the size of this room. And so it's like literally like the whole shower is like you're walking around and it's like a closet, And so it's just raining on me and I can see the ocean from the shower, of course. And why wouldn't you have it any other way?
Position that thing, man.
Yeah. Exactly, right. I remember seeing there's a Ferrari, a Maserati, and an Audi in the driveway. And you may remember me from this time when I had those cars, actually.
You had a couple. I think you pared down. The Ferrari was gone at that point.
Okay. So that was an interesting thing. And I remember I was just in so much pain, man. Like my head was like throbbing.
Yeah.
And I just remember saying, like, fuck, like what am I like living this life? Like I was like, I didn't want to live anymore. It was like the craziest thing. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, this isn't real. Like, why am I thinking this? Something's wrong with me mentally because this is not a thought that normally occurs, right? And I was just like so depressed. And I was like, wow, what did I do all this for? I was in so much pain. And the pain it wasn't like waves of pain and weird symptoms anymore. It was just chronic pain, right? And fatigue,
Constant.
like
Yeah.
just constant. And I was just like, man, like something is wrong with me. And so it was around that time that I decided, like, wow, I started getting like more emotionally or spiritually aware, self-aware. What are my habits? What am I doing that's causing this behavior inside of me? Like, looking at where my addictions were. And it's a process. It takes years
Yeah.
to clear through that. And business was an addiction. Money was an addiction. My cars, the house, the luxury, alcohol, the alcohol, all that kind of stuff, media, all of that kind of stuff was like an addiction to some extent. Music, especially media and clubs, and that vibe of just
Being in the middle of it all.
being in the middle of it all. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so so there was like this addiction to all these things that I don't know if I necessarily signed up for. They kind of just happened to me. It's like, I feel like we're manufactured to some extent.
Sure.
And imagine like a manufacturing plant. There's like humans coming through, and one has a beer in its hand, the other one has a burrito, the other one has a cell phone, the other one has like a prescription pills, the other, it could be a book, but like this is who we are. We don't necessarily always have the choice. Sometimes it's just this is the manufacturing plant. Like we're human, right?
And
so
I guess another way to think of that is like the conditioning we're given as kids, right? Like the molding from our
totally.
parents and society.
So there was a lot of stuff that went on there. There was a lot of even family trauma that I was holding that I wasn't really recognizing. So it took me years. And so it started this whole journey of doing what I love. So I got rid of everything, and I was like, I'm only going to do things I love. And that led to a documentary that ended up going viral on YouTube about a lost civilization. And then it got picked up by Discovery Channel like 3 years later, which was kind of cool. And I was on Discovery Channel. And then at the same time, I also started filming a movie on Ayurveda, which was an ancient healing science. Because by this point, after around 2012, 2013, I ended up getting rid of the tech companies that I owned, which was like a bunch of app stuff that I was doing, and then a bunch of marketing technologies. You remember all the launches and all that stuff that we used to do. So,
and this isn't just like everyone. You're definitely like giving it like it was a
millions of dollars,
lot.
tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah, dollars, downloads, views, like you had teams, like there was a lot going on. There was just like a lot of movement, and it was all very like productive and like go, go, go. But it was driven on the business front. I could see how it was like fueled by that.
Yeah. And so, that's kind of like where, I got rid of everything, and I was like, I'm going to go do this documentary, and I want to do this other documentary, and I want to get into spirituality and like meditation, because it's like, I'm starting to feel a little better and I like the way I feel. So, I started like green juicing and exercise and all this kind of other stuff, and getting on the rebounder and started working out with the trainer, and it helped, but there was just so much stuff going on, and I didn't know again what was causing the pain. I was still kind of in pain throughout what was going on, but I was getting healthier, and I was looking healthier, and I was feeling like better, but I was still feeling like I would get migraines and like these weird pains in my back, and I would get like stuffy noses, and like, my nose would start bleeding every now and then. I'm like, man, either I'm being abducted by aliens, like something's really wrong with me. And so again, I kept saying like, man, what is wrong? And that lasted for a long time, man. In fact, even though I went into this like kind of spiritual kind of health journey, wasn't feeling much better. In fact, my health started deteriorating more. And so it was like this journey of like filming another doctor, another expert on Ayurveda, like tell me like about this, tell me about this, and just learning from all these different doctors and experts about Ayurveda and how it is used to heal a person, not just from their physical body, but also their life. What are the things in their life that are showing up that can help a person out? So it was like also a lot of personal development type stuff. And I was just found it very fascinating. And as I would learn it, I'd start kind of incorporating some more and more of it into my life. And it got to the point where I was able to manage the pain, and I was just being pain. I'd be in like bad moods every now and then, but I didn't know what it was. And some days like I'd eat I'll get to the kicker here. I'd eat a bowl of ramen, and I'd be knocked out on the floor and be like, I can't move, like I'm in pain. And it would just be like out of nowhere, you know what I'm saying? I'd just be like, oh my God, like what is happening? So it's like I didn't know what to expect when, and it was like a week of good, then like 4 weeks of bad, and then 3 weeks of good, and then it's just never know. And my labs were the same way. It's like, oh my God, you're healthy. Oh my God, you're gonna die. Oh my God, you're healthy. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Like this is crazy. So randomly in 2018, I took a genetic test, and it showed I had celiac. And so I was like, oh my God, what the hell? So I stopped eating gluten, of course, and I used Ayurveda. So by that point, I had like 8 to 12 ulcers in my stomach. It was pretty gnarly, actually.
Gosh, pain, man.
Oh, dude, I had like a bulge here actually sticking out.
You've told me some ulcer. I didn't know you had 12 or a bolt, man.
They were all over. So much pain in like this area here, and I was just like, oh, like please, like stop. And so intuitively knew something was wrong. And I remember telling my wife, like we were married by that time, and I was just like, we had 2 kids, and I'm just like, I feel like I can't function as a
Yeah.
father, can't function the company anymore. I can't do this anymore, you know, so it's crazy. So I remember a lot of that kind of being there. Once I figured it out, I was like, oh my God. And so Ayurveda kind of really helped me heal. The left side of my body was like all tight and I couldn't move my head all the way and like so many different things. So when I found out, I decided to just go all in Ayurveda because I felt like it was the thing that like kept me alive, like up until this point, like kept me going. All the supplements I was taking and all the teas I was drinking, I was like, whatever the hell's inside of me, like hell no, like
Get it out.
these
Yeah.
migraines and whatever's going on, I still don't know what it is, but you're not gonna survive in my body, you know. So I did that, and that to 2021 when I finally I was sitting there in meditation, I had a huge grin on my face, and I didn't feel an ounce of pain in my body.
Ooh.
And I use Ayurveda and yoga to kind of like, and meditation, of course, and just tapping into the right brain a little bit more, getting creative in what I do more instead of so analytical, and adjusting my food and my diet, and just understanding what works for me. And really, Ayurveda has like changed my life. And so when that happened, I was just like, wow. I was like, I need to finish this film. So our first interview was in 2013.
I was going to say, like, going way back to when I met you is, I think, right around the time you started laying out that movie. I think Ancient Explorers, one of your other brands, was started by that point, which I think was, Dwarka, that feature film that went a little viral online, Discovery picked up. It was like right after that. And yeah, dude, it was like a whole shift for you. And
it's pretty cool.
But I remember, it wasn't all in though. Like you were like learning throughout that whole thing. It was this evolution.
Yeah. So here we are 10 years later now. The project is complete and it launches this year. Super exciting.
Dude,
and it's wild, man. It's like, I can't believe it's been so long. I can't believe how good I feel.
Yeah.
I can't believe like how tuned and in flow I feel. And I'm not using like traditional science, if that makes sense. I'm not just popping a bunch of supplements and taking a bunch of protein. It's like I'm using a more ancient, natural way to do the same thing that's more gentler on the body without the side effects. And I've kind of figured out this kind of biohacking secret, if you will, which is like Ayurveda. It's like the true anti-aging biohacking original like concept of how to actually do that, remove disease, and get healthy and rejuvenate and have healthy cells in your body,
Yeah.
And so it's just so powerful that I was just like, man, I gotta share this with like so many people. So it's called The Natural Law.
Yeah, that's the name of the film, The Natural Law. Yeah, is at naturallaw.com to get all that.
Yeah, thenaturallaw.com to check it out. Yeah.
Right on.
And what the premise is that Ayurveda's premise is basically just like that the universe is made up of the 5 elements. And the 5 elements are what we see in nature around us, right? There's space or ether, which is just like all this kind of empty space around us, right? This is all just
empty, right?
Yeah, empty.
Quote unquote.
And then there's air, which is like wind, basically, right? We have air that we breathe every single day. And then there is fire, which provides heat and light. And then there is water, which we kind of need every single day and we need to sustain. And then there's earth. And there's like, there's hard stuff like this is a wood table, wood floors, wood cabinet, So those 5 elements make up everything in the universe. And if you're imbalanced in any of those, that's where you have to pay attention. That's where you need to fix it. So that's kind of where they focus on is like, hey, we're all made up of this stuff. There's nothing that doesn't exist outside of these 5 things. From all the plants to all the insects, our computer screens to everything are made up of those 5 elements.
Be more fun if it was well, maybe not actually. Sorry, PETA.
So that's basically what we're saying, that there's a way to like wherever you're, there's 5 elements, you might be a little bit down in this one. It's like, okay, well, take this plant that has that little piece for you and boom, you just bring it back up. Or cut this food out if this one's like growing an extra extension and it's like an extra finger here. It's like, well, let's bring that thing back down. So maybe you reduce the thing that you're taking too much of in. And what they say is that it's not just what you consume through your food, but what you consume through your whole, through your body, through your eyes, through your ears. Like this is all digested by your mind.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Defining Ayurveda, because I doubt a lot of people have explored Ayurveda. And so definitely, like sitting the elements, I think are crucial. And I want to also add in my own little interjection story here from like back in October/November, since last time you and we did a little walk and talk by the beach over here in San Diego. That was the last time I saw you, even though like, Amish and I go, it's just like not even that far away. We got to hang more, bro. But we were walking around and
45 minutes, man, so far.
There was the reason why I met you there was, which by the way, I'm just going to show this is always chilling in front of me. This Amish Sri Yantra. That was actually, maybe we'll get to that, the visualization of things too. But when we walked around on that beach walk, you were almost like diagnosing me based off of the things that you knew were going down in my business, emotionally, physically, all this stuff, you know, and you're not a doctor, obviously, preface all that stuff here, but you were sensing things that were out of balance for me. And I knew that was the case. Like I think I was telling you, I had back pain, neck issues, like interesting inflammation, phlegm, head fog, anger, all the fun stuff, you know, it was like, and you were just like, okay, you know, blah, 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 very calmly, all your things, but implemented that for the last bunch of months, along with a bunch of other things. And like, no shit, like this stuff works. And I haven't had back pain in like 3 months, which is saying something because it's been like 15 years or something like that from what I can remember. The hustle, the freak outness, the fight or flight feeling. I feel like it's all wrapped in the same, man. It's like, it's like
no,
you
it
said,
is completely 100%.
everything is, yeah. So I got to give you a shout out there because I like, it's true. Like it could be
Thanks,
supplements.
man.
Yeah, man. And yeah, so I guess like where would you go? Because like breath work, for instance, that's been huge for me.
Yeah, it's huge.
You recommended some alternate nostril breathing and some other types. I do a lot of Wim Hof as well, but that's only if I want to activate. And, you know, I'm not doing that at night right before I go to bed.
Yeah.
But like, how would you, you know, to get a little practical or maybe ways that you've really focused in, like, what are the things? Obviously, diet you mentioned is a biggie.
Yeah, diet, lifestyle, you know, are definitely important. Getting exercise, movement is obviously important. Making sure you're moving. What I do every single morning, and this is huge. This I'll give you like a bunch of small hacks, I guess. You know.
Yeah.
So the first thing you do when you wake up, wash your eyes with cold water. I think that's a huge one, and make sure you use a tongue scraper and scrape the junk off of your tongue. Don't brush the stuff off your tongue. So scrape your tongue every single morning. The stuff that comes off is toxic. It's actually toxic.
Really?
It's what your body is giving up. Like it's like, hey, everything that you consumed in the last 24 hours, I'm just going to spit it out. So make sure you take it out of yourself. So if you brush it in or you swallow it or you drink your coffee, whatever, like stop all that because you're putting those toxins back in your body. So that's huge.
Is that essentially like phlegm and stuff or whatever that, yeah, like even throughout the day, I would imagine, you know?
Yeah, no, well, only do it once in the morning. You only,
Once,
that's the only time. Yeah, just once in the morning. You don't need it any other time. Yeah, don't worry about it the rest of the day. Unless you have like so much, you're like, look at this. Like, but that was huge. That changed a lot of things for me. And then drinking teas every single morning. There's a specific tea that's called CCF. I think I might have even told you about it.
That is one I was. So I was having it at night, but you would recommend it in the morning?
I'll recommend it in the morning, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's basically cumin seeds, coriander seeds, and fennel seeds. And what those 3 seeds essentially do is there's special like oils that come out of them when you actually make tea. That's what tea is. That's where it gets its flavor from, like the oils that are in the plants. And it's the essence of those kind of seeds. What happens is it just starts pulling out any of the toxins and anything in your kind of just organs every single day in the morning. And it's okay, you can have tea. I mean, you can have coffee, you can do this, but just add this on top, you know?
Yeah.
And speaking of tea, the things that a lot of Americans actually, it's an American thing, largely American thing, is drinking ice cold water throughout the day. Don't drink cold water. So drink warm liquids or at least room temperature liquid. Warm is better, but room temperature is just as good. So like stop drinking the cold water. What that does is it puts out your digestive fire. So if you throw in food after and you ate a big meal and then you pop it down with a bunch of cold water, you're like restricting the whole entire digestive. So what's happening is like it's digesting slower, it's churning, it's creating more of the gook, more of the toxic stuff in your gut. So when you have warm liquids or room temperature liquids, it's actually keeping your digestive kind of, it's like, hey guys, we're warm, let's go, bring it. Like let's, you know, we're ready to pop.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's kind of like if you were to like butter, for instance, you throw it in the fridge, it's going to harden up, and you know, you throw it in the microwave or something, room temperature is going to soften it. Yeah, for sure. Okay.
So that's kind of what the tea does. It helps with some of that kind of stuff, and so it's a really good tea to have in the morning. It helps you just detox, flush out whatever is kind of going on from the day before. And you only need a cup or two. You don't need a lot of it. You don't need like to drink it the whole day. Just start with small amounts, and then you know that's kind of like the morning routine. Always I kind of sit down every single morning too and say an intention, and you know I have a little altar that I set up. It's no reason other than just to clear the mind. And I think the morning routine is something I swear by. It's just like making these little hacks to your morning routine, like just go long ways. Like it's like they carry energy. Like, so the more you do it, the more like energy gets built up with it, you know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. And then I don't know, what are some other things that I do? I take Triphala almost every other day
Triple
or
is good. Yeah, that's a
yeah.
little pill supplement. Yeah.
And I take that in the evening, and that's just to help the digestion process. And it's completely safe. There's no side effects. You can take it every day. They've been doing it for thousands of years. Same with the tea. There's can't like there's no side effects from this stuff. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And they're just natural detoxants and they're natural clarifiers. Triphala is a colon cleanser, along with what the beneficial vitamin C benefits you get from it. So it's a great drink to have every single day, regardless.
How about
And
things like physically, like breath work, for instance? Like I feel like that physical element can sometimes activate our minds in different ways, either settle or not. Like with all the teas. Yeah, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so breath work is huge in India and Ayurveda. It's called pranayam, and pranayam just means breath, basically, moving it and controlling it. And so you use your breath to vary your emotional state and to get into different altered states as well. So for an example, like Wim Hof, for example, can put you into completely altered states, and you're just like what? Like in an alternate universe, like you're tripping out, basically, right? It's like wild. But then there's ones called Nadi Shodhana, which is alternate nostril breathing, which we were talking about earlier, which actually syncs your left and your right brain hemisphere. Because sometimes we get too locked up in one of our sides. We're an artist and we make music and we're just jamming all day and we forget about our real life stuff. We're on the right side, pretty heavy there. And then the left side, am I switching it? But regardless, you get what I'm saying. It's like then there's the analytical side where we're forgetting the other side. So what that allows it to do is just sync your two hemispheres of your brain and get into that coherent state where you like the flow state. So, and you don't have to do a lot of it. You don't have to sit there and do it for like hours a day. Just do it for 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes,
Yeah. You mentioned coherence just now, and that's actually something that I don't think we've chatted about, but I've mentioned this before. I think it was a James Schramko podcast with him, but like I was talking about, like there's a doctor, something Watkinson, linked it in a previous episode, and I should know the name by now, but this whole HRV, like heart rate variability, and it's like this whole brain and body connection or heart and mind connection, mind body. Gabor Mate talks about that. In his newest book. How about that? Like I'm sure that's somehow related to all this. Because I'll just say it really fast, because like that was a game changer when I synced it up with other things. It had me tap into like in the moment breathing, like, okay, just steady in, hold for a second, then out. And it's like this simple, just consistent pace. And like that's life. Like it doesn't have to go,
I have this little device here this is kind of what I got started on, just very simple. It's called the M2, the M Wave.
Okay.
It's by it's called by Heart Labs, I think they're called. Heart Math.
Yeah.
And this is a great beginner device, and it just has a little light, and you just breathe with the light. That's it.
Oh, that's cool. All right.
And that's just what I got started with. It's simple, and it's like a beginner kind of tool. I take it with me traveling sometimes when I just want to do like a quick session.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on. I'm like, I don't even want to quiet my mind. I just want to look at something and tell me what to do. Right.
I mean, but that just changes
and
enough.
It measures. So you hook up the wire to your ear, so it measures your pulse to make sure you actually get into that coherent state. So that's what's cool about it. Is like it actually takes a pulse from your
Right on, man.
So getting into that kind of gut brain connection. There's more neurons in your gut than brain. So when you get that gut feeling, like that's the realest thing that you have going for you, because this thinks more than this thinks, right? This is what knows, and it's just keeping it clear and keeping it healthy. And Ayurveda has always been the biggest thing, because this leads to good this. And they're saying that disease doesn't actually start in the body; it actually starts in the mind.
That's right.
So when the mind creating the disease, it's because the gut has actually gone wrong. So they actually start treating the gut to fix the mind, because there's something wrong with the gut.
Yeah, and that's kind of goes back to the whole, your diagnosis when you did the genetic thing. Yeah, it's like, okay, well, I got celiacs. Okay, that's obviously the gut thing can be what we put into it, right? Like with all the different foods and stuff, but there's already things happening in the gut that might not be balanced or properly, somehow just functioning, right? So then, if you don't have the physical worked out, then your mental is not going to be in line as well.
100%. So that's kind of like some of the learning lessons that I kind of picked up on it. And there's so many more that it's just like, holy crap, like these like small little hacks, you know, it's like you don't even think about them, but they go like such long ways. I got to film and learn from so many amazing experts, man. It was just like super cool, like Deepak Chopra and Sri Ravi Shankar and Dr. Basant Lad, and like the woman who started the first integrative clinic in all of America, actually.
Wow.
People on the board of the NIH. We went to India and filmed people in India for the documentary. So it's like just it's taken us everywhere, and I've learned so much. And I'm like, wow, like at the end of the day, it is what saved me. And we even filmed testimonials of like stage 4 cancer like reversed, and like all kinds of wild, amazing testimonials, thyroid issues like reversed. And it's just like, wow, like this is real. And now is the time to bring this kind of wisdom to the West. They use it in India like all the time, and they use it every day, you know.
Yeah.
It's like super cool to finally like kind of maybe hopefully be that bridge.
That's cool. Yeah. So like how does that now cross over to the business side of things? Because I know you're operating differently in your own businesses from before, but also like how is this extending to the community of other entrepreneurs? Because you're like super connected. So obviously it permeates there too.
Yeah. No, there's a lot going on in the business, obviously. You know, to me it's not just a film, it's a company, as of course, right? It's like I'm just like that. I'm an entrepreneur. So I've had this idea for a while of building this back end platform, and it's going to be a community. We're going to have education. It's a telehealth platform, and a marketplace as well, where you can go shopping for Ayurvedic goods and services. So we have lots of cool things that I think are going to be very useful for people. And what's really interesting is like, it's one of the rare few instances in a business where I wasn't so caught up in the numbers and trying to make sure that everything's going to back out. It's just like going with what's coming before me, and not worrying about the money, but just making an impact, making sure that like we're providing is of value. And it's so much so that like we actually make an impact, so that that's what fuels the company's growth, instead of like, let's focus on all the cogs and make sure that everything is tidied up. And, you know, it's like, well, like let's focus on making the impact. And then within that, okay, we have a budget, yes, but let's focus on making the impact. And then what can we do within our striking distance first? And then all the numbers kind of come into play second. And so that's been really cool. It's been a big shift from the way I view business and entrepreneurship and things like that. Yeah.
That's kind of why I brought it up, because I knew how you operated then, and I've known you've been, you know, changing a lot of things physically, or, you know, for yourself personally, but in the business, that is a reflection of you to a lot of extent. Obviously, you have team and all that stuff too. And there's a lot of entrepreneurs right now, like I talk on the show, and people that just write in or whatever it is, and you know, there's a lot of people burning out, and a lot of people just going too hard in whatever direction, or you know, they're experiencing whatever it might be. It could be a disease of some sort, stressors. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a disease. It could be anything like that.
Yeah, it could be anger or pressures for family issues, communication, whatever. Like it's all like stagnant energy to an extent. So it's good timing, man. Like that's why, like this show, I'm more motivated than ever to give out, you know, put messages out there like this and tools, because it's not like the sexy stuff to talk about, you know, like the flashiest new app or whatever from back in the day.
No, I think Ayurveda's going to make a big impact. It's already picked up in a lot of the European countries, and you know, it's just a matter before the United States kind of picks up. And you know, it's like, so we're kind of starting to see some of it with like turmeric and ashwagandha and like neem and like all these different things that kind of come out of the Ayurvedic textbook. So it's pretty cool to start seeing it kind of make its way to the mainstream.
Sweet, man. Well, hey, let's I guess remind folks where to go. Well, it's The Natural Law is the name of the film, so thenaturallaw.com as well. Anything else?
And
sorry.
No, if you want to check out more about me, you can go to my website, which is amish-shah.com, and that's hyphen like an actual dash, because someone else took my domain name.
Dude, for how long you been in
so many years ago, like since 2003 he had the domain or something like that.
I remember making one of your websites a long time ago, and the whole dash, and you're like, go check it out, because you're always doing a lot, man. And the fact that it's all mission focused and driven, I think it's just going to have I know it's going to have a bigger impact once this thing's out, and then everybody else starts talking about it, actually understanding it. I think that's the big thing, is like putting the pieces together. That's what you're helping people do. So
yeah, exactly.
Cool, brother.
Cool.
Well, hey, let's have a follow-up sooner than later, man, and we'll
Yeah.
go party at your gala soon.
Yeah,
Launching this bad boy.
exactly. Yeah, we're gonna have a red carpet event. That's super exciting too. Again, never done anything like this. One of the things I'll mention before we get off here is another
Mhm.
friend of mine actually is making a big shift from his entrepreneurial life too, and he went to acting school actually.
Hmm.
And actually, Sachin, you know Sachin.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so he's going to acting school
That's
now.
cool.
And one thing that came to me was just like never be afraid to reinvent yourself.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or not. I think that's just it. Because if you know that something feels off and something that isn't feeling good, then you know, and you shouldn't put up with it because it will turn into disease. It'll turn into the things you don't want in your life.
Mm.
So it's like pay attention to those things that don't bring you joy, because it's the things that don't bring you joy that you're probably fighting against, that you're bringing that into your life personally. So yeah, that's kind of where I'll leave it. And yeah, don't be afraid to reinvent yourself. You can do it at any age, at any time. It's not a big deal.
Amen.
Yeah.
I feel like we're both doing that. I've done that this last year too, man. And again, thanks for your guidance. And yeah, write this stuff down too. I don't know if like we didn't mention journaling or anything, but I know for me, like exactly what you're saying. Talking to myself almost in like a third person in a weird way that way. And then writing it down is almost like oh yeah, I'm in control of that joy thing. Or if I'm not, like, should I let that in too? Damn it.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
yeah,
Totally.
being cool with yourself too. So.
Yeah. It's
Doing
like,
it.
okay, you got this. Don't worry. Don't stress. Like, yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's all good.
Hey, thank you so much for listening to this episode with my buddy Amish. And I'm doing another reminder for this free gift that he's offering to you. And this is brand new. And it's close to my heart because he's helped me see things in my life the way in my wellness and my nutrition and in sleep and just in general mental state. It's helped clarify a lot of things. And this is exactly what Amish is now introducing to the world. And it's a free ebook called Escaping the Fast Lane. It's something you can get for free. But even on top of that, you're getting a free access pass to watch his brand new film, The Natural Law. And this is a star-studded cast, a bunch of people you probably have heard of, doctors and practitioners, people who, big names, some you haven't. Really doesn't matter because this is for everybody. So this is totally free. I urge you to go get it right now. Go to hustleandflowchart.com/natural law. Again, that's hustleandflowchart.com/natural law.
All right, Amish.
Exactly.
Appreciate you, bro. Thank you, man.
All right. Thanks. Yep. Later.
All right. That's what I got for you today. And remember, it's not all about living to work. It's all about working to live, if you need to do the work. But work can be fun and it should be fueling for your life. So if you enjoyed what you just heard, if you got some nuggets of wisdom that you want to share, or you're just noodling on right now, please go tell others the way that people find this show and how you can help others get their aha moments is through word of mouth. So if it is telling your friend, telling your family, sending an email to your list, writing a review, or whatever it might be, everything helps. So thank you so much for listening to the Hustle and Flowchart podcast, and I will see you next time.